Hi everyone, Anthony Morganti here. Yesterday, Skylum Software released Luminar for iPad. I installed it on my iPad Pro this morning, and I've been messing around with it a little bit. Now, I'm far from an expert on this application, but in today's video, I want to give you a first look at the app, and hopefully this video will help you decide whether or not it's something you want to invest in. At the end of the video, I'll talk about the pricing. Now, when you open up Luminar for iPad on your iPad, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you for access to your Apple Photos. Once you grant it access, this is the screen you'll see. It's kind of like the library module. So from here, you could just tap on a thumbnail of an image that you want to edit. For example, you can see there's a bunch of photos of my grandson. If I tap on this one right in the middle, it will open it up into the editor. Now, the editor is a little more full-featured than I thought it might be for the first iteration of an application. There is a lot you could do here. I do have a couple quibbles about some of the things in the editor, specifically the controls themselves. They're a bit confusing. Let me try to show you. Over on the right-hand side, we have all the controls and the different edits we could do. You'll notice nothing is really labeled that well. We could see Enhance AI towards the bottom. That's the kind of dial. But everything above it, I mean, we have H, S, W, B circles. So obviously that's highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. But really nothing else is labeled. At the very top, there's a slider. Well, what's that do? Well, if you just move it, you'll notice at the very top of the image, it says temperature. And you can see it has a value as I move it. So this is the temperature slider. Now, if you need to reset a slider, just double tap with your finger on that slider and you'll reset it. The one directly below that is tint. So you can see it says tint right above my grandson's head. I'll double tap that to reset that. Now, I said before that HSWB is highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. And you could probably figure out that that slider in the middle is the exposure slider. So if you move that, you'll affect exposure. I'll reset that. Now, to do an edit on this, I'd probably start out with highlights. Now you'll notice highlights and shadows have these vertical bars, whereas whites and blacks have these horizontal bars. This is where it's kind of odd. Some controls are operated in a certain way, whereas a similar control is operated in a different way. For example, if I want to turn down the highlights, if I put my finger on this highlights control, I have to spin it. So I'm spinning it to the left, and you can see I'm turning down highlights. Similarly, for the shadows, if I want to open up the shadows, I could spin that. Now, the whites and blacks are different. They have these horizontal bars in the middle. If I want to make the whites brighter, I could go on that and push up. So I'm doing that, and blacks darker, pull down. Now, below that, you can see there's a little waveform. That is contrast. So you could change the contrast. I'll double tap that to reset it. Below that is vignette, believe it or not. So I can move it to the right and get a white vignette and move it to left to get a darker vignette. Now, below that is a control that is vibrance and saturation all rolled up into one. If you put your finger on this and move it up or down, you're going to affect vibrance. If you move it left or right, you're affecting saturation. So you kind of have everything in one slider. Now, one other little quibble I have, if you need to scroll down, a lot of times you'll accidentally move a slider. For example, I want to scroll so I could get at that enhance dial and everything that's below it a little better. And if I start sliding, if I pick the wrong spot, you'll see how I'm actually moving the vibrance saturation slider. So that's something that you have to be aware of. So we have this Enhance AI dial. You could do that if you want. Below that is structure. By the way, you could close these down by tapping on the top, although there we go. There. So you could close this down if you want. Structure AI. Let's try to get at that. Move it to the right. Add structure. Remove structure. There. You see there's a little like power button in the upper right hand corner of each of the tools. You could turn the tool temporarily off or on with that power button. Below that is Read Light AI. This is a very confusing tool. The top one, again, it's not labeled. There's a top slider there, but as soon as you start moving it, it says brightness far. So you want to turn down the brightness, let's say, of the background. It takes a second to kick in. So this might fool you a little bit. See, it just kicked in now. Then we have this one is brightness near, and maybe I want to make that a little brighter. And it's going to take a second to kick in. And then there's a wheel here. And if you spin the wheel, this is the depth. So how far do you want the brightness from near to go into the background or vice versa? So you could turn that. And again, it's a little bit confusing, that tool, if you ask me. We have a landscape tools. Obviously, this isn't a landscape image. We have details. You have two different kind of wheels. On the left-hand side is small and medium details together, and then on the right-hand side are large details by themselves. If you want to increase small details, you could just click on that or tap on that little S and move it. You can see I'm increasing small details. If I want to do medium details, I could go on that M and move that. Similarly for large, like that. If you want to reset each of these, just double tap on it each time, and you reset those set of controls. Below that is curves, and if you scroll up, you can see you have just typical curves, and you also have the color channels below it. So you could do a curves adjustment and monochrome, and they left the E off monochrome. And you could see that it's just really a single slider, and you can see there's like stops along the slider. If I go to that first stop, that is a monochrome with a cyan filter on it, let's say. Like if you were shooting black and white film and you had a cyan filter on your lens. This next stop is a red filter. The next stop is a yellow filter. The next stop is a green filter that's often used for portraiture. The next stop is a magenta filter, and the final stop is a blue filter. Or we go all the way to the end and we're back to color. So there's a quick kind of overview of all the controls that are on the right-hand side. But you could do some more, and you can see I was trying to scroll and I hit something. I hit saturation, vibrance again. So that's one quibble. I don't like the controls the way they're lack labeling, basically. I don't care for that much. And I don't care for scrolling is kind of difficult sometimes. So those are the editing controls on the right, but you could do a lot more. Now, one thing I want to make you aware of here is this is a non-destructive editor. So to get back to Apple Photos and all my photos, if I hit this top left-hand corner like back arrow key, it's going to ask me to share this image or discard the changes. It doesn't have like a catalog where it stores your edits independently of the image. So if you want to save your edits, you need to save the image by clicking share, and then you'll find a location where you want to share it. I'm going to save the image, just save it, and then go back, and then you can discard changes. So we have that saved somewhere. I don't know where I saved it. I wasn't paying attention, but I'll go into that a little more detail in a minute because that was a bit confusing. Let me show you some more of the things you could do. This time, instead of choosing an image that is in my Apple Photos, I'm going to choose an image that is on my iCloud Drive. You'll notice in the lower right-hand side, there's a little folder there. Next to that is a little camera. If you want to use your iPad to take a photo, you could do that from within Luminar Neo. Just click on that, or Luminar for iPad, I'm sorry. Just click on that little camera. It will open up your camera on your iPad. You could take a photo and then edit it in Luminar. If you want to open an image up that's on your iCloud Drive somewhere, just click this folder, and I have a desktop folder on my iCloud Drive. And on that desktop folder, I have a Luminar folder, and you can see that there are a number of images here. Now I'm going to pick another one of my grandson only because I want to show you how to crop. You can see that this is a photo of my grandson that he's off center. I didn't center him very well. This is a RAW file. It was taken with a Ricoh GR3X or something like that. Now I want to crop it. The crop tool's in the top left-hand corner. If I tap on the crop tool, you'll see it opens up the image in the crop editing screen. At the bottom, you have different things. You could level it. You could flip it left. You could do like geometric adjustments to it if you need to. In this case, I want to crop it square. You can see that far right icon at the bottom has these little rectangles. If I tap on that, you'll see that I have the option to do a freeform crop, an Instagram Facebook crop, an Instagram stories crop, or a Facebook cover. I kind of like those, that they have these presets for places where you often would share an image. Now I want to crop this square. So I have my square crop. I'm just going to put him more in the center and I'm done. I like the crop. So at the top right-hand corner, there's a done button. I'll click that. So I have him cropped square. Now I just continue with my editing as I normally would. Bring highlights down a little bit, open up the shadows quite a bit. Bring whites up, shadows down. Now, one thing about the vignette, it is a pre-crop vignette, and let me prove it to you. I'm going to prove this to the way to the right, and you remember he was offset to the right. You'll see how the vignette is heavier on the right, because in the original rectangle image that I had, he was to the right. So the the vignette, I'm sorry, is heavier on the right and lighter on the left. I wish they would change this and make this a post-crop vignette, because I think it would be more effective. Now, just to kind of continue on with some of the controls, the top left-hand corner next to the crop tool, you'll see there's a little eraser tool. So if there was something you wanted erased, you could do it. Now, I don't think I have an image that I need to show you, but let's just say, and I'm going to come in here and say, well, try to erase his button, and you can see that it did okay. I mean, I'm going to cancel though. So that's how you use that. Just very simple, actually, how you use that tool there. I think I'm done. I'm going to click and save it. I'm going to share it, but this time I'm going to know where I share it to. I'm going to save it to files, and I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I'm going to save it to this folder, the same folder we've been working on. So we'll click save. Now, when I click this back arrow, I need to discard the changes. Now, if I go to that little folder on the lower right-hand side and tap there, and I go to my desktop and I go to this Luminar folder, you can see my image is here. It's this square image, and we'll open it up. But you'll notice my edits are baked in. On the right-hand side, remember I moved highlights and shadows and whites and blacks. It's all reset. So I saved it. It saved it as a JPEG. That's really the only option you have at this point with it. I don't think if you click up here and click share that it does anything else outside. You could save it to photos, stuff like that. And we'll try that in a minute. As I said, I'm far from an expert on this application so far. But one thing you could do is you can replace the sky, and I want to show you that. So I'm going to click on the little folder in the lower right-hand corner, click on desktop again, click on Luminar, and I have this image right here, and it opens it up, and it's an unedited raw file. This was taken with the Nikon Z7 II, so it's a Nikon raw file. And I'm just going to do a quick edit on it, nothing spectacular. Open up shadows. And lights up, blacks down. Add a little, no vignette. We're going to add some vibrance maybe. And do I want to do it, try enhance AI? Yeah, why not? And try to scroll up without breaking anything. Add some structure. Nothing with relight. Let's try this landscape control and see what we could do here. You'll notice there's three kind of independent sliders. This first one is golden hour, so we could warm it up. This next one is foliage enhancer. There's really no foliage in the shot. And this last one is dehaze. And I'm just going to double click or double tap on that to reset that. So that's the landscape tools. We have detail. We talked about this before. I don't think I need to do anything with detail here. Curves and monochrome, I'm not going to. Now, let's say you want to replace the sky on this. The far left-hand side, you'll see there's a little wheel. You can see there's clouds on this wheel. Just spin it to those clouds, and you'll notice you have some skies on the right-hand side to choose from. Just tap on one you want, and it will take a second, but it will apply the sky to the sky photo to the image, and it will automatically put the reflection. So you could try different ones and see if there's one you like. Just keep tapping till you find one you like. Now, it does allow you to apply your own sky or a third-party sky that you purchased. Just scroll all the way to the bottom, and you can see it has your own skies. Tap this little plus sign, and you can see in my Apple Photos, I put a AccuDrone skies. You know, guys, I'm always droning on and on about AccuDrone skies. They're the best third-party skies on the market. And you can see that I added it, and it should then, if I tap on it, it should get added to the image, and you can see it just got added to the image there. Now, you do have some control once you add a sky. If we scroll, or we look at the top, I should say, you can see that you have this kind of like joystick. And what you could do is you could move things around. So if you move up, down, so you can move the sky around. It does take a second, though, for anything to render. You can see I have it like there. There, I kind of like it like there, let's say. And it does take a second to render. Let it do its thing. Yeah, there it goes. Then, well, what you could do is if you scroll, you can see there's more controls. And again, nothing is really labeled. So you got to kind of get an idea, and you can see at the top, this is global, it says. So you can just kind of do, and again, you have to wait for it to render. It might take a second. There's close gaps, and this one is fixed details. We scroll that way, then we have brightness. Let's see if we can make it a little brighter. Let's just go crazy brightness. See, there we go. Temperature. Then we have the warmth, or defocus, I'm sorry. Again, to reset, just double tap on something to reset it. Like that. You could scroll, and that's it. Those are the controls. So there's really no control for like the reflection. The actual version of Luminar Neo for the desktop, you could control how much it's reflected, a little, how I guess the actual reflection, how strong it is. You don't have that control here. So that is something that is missing. Now, the last thing I want to show you is on this wheel on the left-hand side. You'll notice there's like a little film or negative there. If we flip to that, they're not calling these presets. They're calling it this toning. Specifically, they're calling it portrait toning. Obviously, this isn't a portrait. These are kind of like presets or kind of like LUTs. So if you just tap on one like Venus, you can see that it gives your image a specific kind of tone. There's Gloria. There's Rosa. You could come through. There's Wooden. There's Involve. There's Red Trace. Not super strong here, but then you have this wheel up here where you could affect the strength. There's Genius, so you could come in and try these out as well, and you could turn it off or on with the power button in the top right-hand corner. I don't really think I care for that look, but that's something else that is here. And again, you could go then to your editor, and this image here is much too saturated, so I pull some saturation away. Somehow, when I was replacing the sky, I made it way too saturated. Maybe add a darker vignette. Now you can see how this vignette is equal compared to the one when I cropped the image square, how it was not on the left-hand side as strong as the right-hand side because I didn't crop this image. So it is a pre-crop vignette that, again, is something I hope they change someday. And you come back in and readjust things as needed. So that's really it. That's Luminar for iPad. Now I'm going to be messing around with it anymore. If I discover anything else about it that I think I need to do a video on, I'll definitely do a video on it. If I was incorrect about anything, which is very possible, as I mentioned, I just loaded it up on my iPad this morning, and I haven't really used it quite a lot. But if I said anything incorrectly or represented anything incorrectly, let us know in the comments below. I don't mind being corrected. And finally, let's talk about the pricing. You could pay for it monthly. It's $4.99 a month. Of course, typical with anything you purchase from the App Store through Apple, I think they give you a week free to try it out. So you could try it out for a week. And if you decide you want to keep it, you could pay $4.99 a month, $19.99 for 6 months, or $29.99 for the year. So it is a subscription-only product. So that's it. Luminar for iPad. Let us know what you think. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. I really do appreciate it. Talk to you guys soon.